In this video, I'm going to show you how to code and output player minutes in basketball. So here in my example, I'm going to show you two different ways you can achieve this. One with code buttons and one with label buttons. So first, code buttons. So in my window, I have an offense and a defense button, and these have unique button IDs of Team 1 and Team 2. I then have my 10 toggle buttons over here on the left, and each one of these toggle buttons also has a unique button ID. So P1, P2, P3, P4, P5, etc. Now, if we look at the scripting of this player 1 minutes button, we'll see here that the scripting reads if button player 1, so we're at the player 1 toggle button, is active, state equals 1, and button team 1, so offense, or button team 2, so defense, equals 1, push button down, and then push button up. So what the scripting is saying is that if the conditions of player 1 toggle is pushed down and offense or defense activate this player 1 minutes button. So what does that look like in practicality? Well, if I have player 1 toggle, you'll see the minutes button isn't pushed down because the full condition isn't met. If I have offense pushed down or defense pushed down, the minutes button also isn't pushed down because, again, the entire condition is not met. However, if I push player 1 down and then offense, now it is activated because all the conditions have been met. Same with defense. That means these code buttons are only going to be activated when offense or defense is down. So that means I can select my 5 players, and only those 5 players will be activated when offense or defense is down. And then if I want to make a sub, I just have to select another player, so player 3 to player 4, player 5 to player 6, and then those buttons will be activated. So then how do we script for the actual minutes? So now if we want to output those minutes, we're going to go length, so a variable, length instances where row equals player 1 minutes. Now player 1 in this respect will be replaced by the actual name of your player. We're then going to go show timer 2, with timer 2 giving you the minutes and the seconds. That variable, comma 0, which is the amount of decimal points that we want. So we want no decimal points. We want just the minutes and the seconds, and that is it. We can then put show instances where row equals player 1 minutes. This is going to mean that if we have this button as a toggle button with the action as with the action as make movie, if we click this button, it will give us the video. So that's the first way we can code and script for player minutes. The second way of doing it is having these label buttons as your player buttons and their names. And each one of these label buttons, if we double click, has a list of alternate names. So each one of these buttons has an alternate name of every player that could be potentially on the court. So whenever a sub is made, I just have to right click and go player 1 for player 5, player 2 for player 7, player 3 for player 1, whatever. Each one of these label buttons has got an activation link from offense and defense. So every time offense or defense is pushed, these label buttons are also selected. So in practicality, what that looks like is in code mode. If I click offense, you'll see those labels are activated. And when I click defense, those labels are activated. So now if I want to find the amount of time that, say, player 1 has been on the court, we just have to look for the length of time that player 1's label has shown up in offense and defense. So double clicking on this script, we can see length player 1 where row equals to offense. So I'm identifying the player 1 label in offense. I'm then identifying player 1 in defense. I'm adding them together, so length 1 plus length 2. And then I'm showing again timer 2, that variable of length 1 and 2 added together, comma 0. And then for the video, I can just go show label player 1. That way I've got the length of time player 1 has showed up in offense and defense without actually having to see it on the timeline, but I'm still getting the stat and the video. So those are two ways to code and output player minutes in Sportscode in a basketball context.